Check it out. What's up, you guys? Welcome to my workout. Today is March 4, 2024. Got my mother-in-law coming over for dinner tonight, so I gotta make it kind of quick. I'm gonna be doing kind of a weird one today. Still trying to keep the loading of my joints somewhat light because I'm trying to allow them some time to recover while I'm on my Peptide Therapy. I want to thank Merrick Health for sponsoring me with my therapy. Just to be clear, they are providing the guidance and the compounds that I'm using, but there's no exchange of cash for my reporting of my whatever happens with me on this. And I'm going to be very honest with you guys, whether it works or not. I'm going to let you know. Over the last going on 4 days now, I've noticed a very significant improvement in my joints, whereas I think the first 18 days I was really wondering if anything was going to happen, because my gut health did improve, but my joints, there was no change. And then I started injecting the compounds directly into the joints in question, and that's made a big difference. So today my right here, still a little sketchy getting up and down, but my inner right ankle as well as my right big toe, those have been problematic for years. I was limping this morning. I gave myself a shot right here. That kind of felt a little intense, but by this afternoon, by lunchtime, there was a noticeable difference, and it's not placebo, because I'm very skeptical of this kind of thing. I'm not open to placebo effects. So, but I definitely feel better, and there's a noticeable reduction in the swelling in my ankle, and that was just from this morning putting BPC 157 and TB 500 straight into the inner ankle joint. Okay, so because I'm having such a happy day, I'm going to be training my tibias. Now, I know a lot of you see all these tib exercises, you know, leaning against walls and lifting your toes and using tib bars, and those are great. Those are foundational. Those are always going to be good. But the other day I was throwing roundhouse kicks at my heavy bag, and when the instep or the top of the foot lands, yeah, I know you're supposed to kick with the shin, but sometimes when I'm working forms, I do kick with all parts of my foot. And in real life, I'm not going to have the luxury of always landing perfectly with my shin. If somebody moves, I'm going to catch the top of my foot. And so if the integrity right here, so having my joint be strong, being able to take a hit when it's fully plantar flexed or pointing downwards like that, that's important. And the way I train that is outside of the normal way of leaning up against the wall and lifting my toes. I don't lift my toes here. I actually train the joint where I want it to be strong, and that's in a fully plantar flexed position. So there's two ways I do that. One, I use a push-up position, and the other one I use a lunge. And there's others, but today I think I just have time for those two. So let's jump right in. So first, I just go to this position, put the tops of my feet on the floor, and then I lift up. So my toes are being folded into a fist, and my friend Graham Tuttle of the Barefoot Sprinter, he has, and other people have this amazing ability to actually curve or curl their foot at the arch and actually do with their feet what most of us can do with our hands. I'm very limited there. My foot has always just been like a flipper. It doesn't bend in that way. So I now try to cultivate that by just putting myself in this position. From this position, I'm emphasizing putting the weight on my big toe and the number 2 toe next to it. I'm just pushing back and then coming forward.
As I do this, I'm not allowing my knees to land on the floor to rest. So this is also putting a lot of stress into the quadriceps. And I also feel the integrity, the stability, and the strength and function of my knees is greatly influenced by how my tibialis anterior muscle is communicating with my quadriceps and my hip flexors. So this is a way I can test that line of integrity. All right. After I do that, doing this just feels good for some reason. So, that's good. Okay. All right, so on the break here, I'm sorry if I might have made an assumption that everyone knows what a tibialis anterior is. Your shin bone is your tibia. This muscle that's on, if the blade of your shin bone's right here, on the outer edge of the blade, there's a muscle that attaches on the top of your foot and under your knee. And when that muscle shortens, it lifts or dorsiflexes your ankle. It lifts your foot or dorsiflexes your ankle. So it does this. Okay, so it's the reciprocal, it's the antagonistic muscle to your calves. These powerful guys here. And for every thousands of reps that these guys get, unless you're training these specifically, a pretty serious imbalance can occur just incidentally because of the gross discrepancy in the ratio of stress that this function gets versus this function. So anyway, enough resting. Let's go one more time. Also, my left wrist is a little bit broken, so I'm gonna kind of ease into that. Now, once again, let's sit back a little farther so we can go into a more, all right. Now I'm just gonna try to do a little push-up. And I'm really trying to open, as I'm in this position, I'm trying to basically create a straight line between my shin bones and the top of my feet. I'm also alternately rolling outwards a little bit so that I'm getting a full, I'm accessing all the parts of my tibialis anterior. And then I'm also going to come back to here. Trying and making sure that I don't let my knees rest on the ground. One more time. I'm going to come back here. Now once I'm back here, I'm going to put additional stress on my tibialis anteriors by trying to lower the knees but not touching them, lifting them back up, and then trying to pike my hips up a little higher to really put that stretch into. And this is not just about the tibialis anterior here. I'm also trying to get, once again, I'm trying to get the flexion of my toes and the arches of my feet. I tend to do a lot of it, like I extend my toes. This, I do this all the time. My toes, so my toes are very, at least on this side, they're pretty accustomed to extending, but how often do we actually crunch our toes or feet into a fist and then put pressure on the knuckles of that foot fist? It doesn't really happen too often. So like right here, I'm getting a strong extension. And by the way, this normally hurts my big toe. Right in this bunion here, to that feels pretty good. So, okay. Now, to progress this, I'm going to just start from a slightly closer position. So this is going to change the angle of my, or the force vectors entering my feet. I'll be entering slightly more extreme positions of flexion in my toes as well as my feet, and also more, I don't know if more weight, but anyway, here, I'll show you what I mean. So from here, when my knees are back here, I've got this going on. That's okay, because a lot of weight is spread over the length of my body. Once I come in a little closer here, now when I stack up and I push back, I have a little bit more weight and a little bit more challenge going into my feet. Oh, and those toe joints feel stiff, but it's okay. Once again, I'm going to lower my knees and then push up, staying on the knuckles of my feet. And you know, it's one of those things. It hurts. It hurts similar, or in a way that's similar to doing knuckle push-ups on concrete. It hurts, and you're really convinced that you're damaging yourself. But, and by the way, this is just me. I'm not telling you to do this. But I found that no matter how much I do that, when I'm done, my feet feel so much better. My feet also get really tight to the point where I'll have cramps under my big toes or in the arches of my feet. And when I activate and I stress and I strengthen the reciprocal or opposite muscles of the calves and the arches, which are the tibialis anterior and the muscles that straighten or extend my toes, when I stress those out and really put it on, lay it down on them, it seems to balance the tension in the back of my leg, in the calf, and in the arch area. Okay. All right. Yeah, I know the last few days have been boring. Yesterday, all I did was shake my joints out for 40 minutes, and today all I'm doing is activating my shins. But if you're still here, and if you understand what I'm trying to do for myself, and in doing so, trying to explain to you the benefits of this, if you're aware of this function and training it, I promise you, you're going to be so much farther ahead of people who don't, and you're going to last longer as well. So, just thank you for being here. All right, one more time. So this is now the next challenge. We call it a tibia lunge. So I want to kind of feel like I'm in a slightly, well, I'm going to have to, we'll see how, we'll see how this goes. All right, so with my front shin roughly vertical, I want to keep my chest over my hips as much as possible. And what I'm doing now is I'm trying to flatten the top of my foot as much down into this mat as I can, putting my foot into the maximum plantar flexion or like a toes down position. And now I'm going to try to use, I'm pushing with the top of my toes and the top of my feet, activating my tib to bring myself as high into this position as I can. And then I don't know about you, but for me that is very challenging. Lunges are not my favorite exercise. Anything I can do to make them a little more exciting or challenging, I certainly invite. And this version of the lunge for me is just, It's very interesting. I never get bored. Okay. Also, this knee, it clicks, it shifts, it catches, because it's damaged, but I work with that damage. And I try not to damage it more. I have found that training my tibia in conjunction with my knee in this fashion, once again, it teaches my system how to take stress that would normally cause the knee, cause force to enter the vulnerable parts of my knee, and it teaches my system how to spread that stress more evenly across the kinetic chain, so I can actually perform something that normally would not be possible if I didn't have alternate recruitment strategies available. So once again, I'm trying to flatten. I'm going to start this lift from my right leg here by pushing the top of my right foot down, and now activating my tibia. From the tibia, I'm now trying to extend using my quad to come up as high as I can. Now I'm pushing off my front leg. I'm also going to try and stack as much of my weight over my hip, and then lowering myself back to the motherfucker. Okay. I just gotta give it's my right leg. It's the leg that's in the back on this that just, but to me, I understand strengthening certain muscles and joints in isolation, but I'm a big fan of taking those muscles and joints and connecting them to the rest of the muscles and joints above and below them in a chain, and producing a movement that might actually occur in my real life. So once again, I'm going to try to start here, and okay, my left knee is already going click, 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 and that's normal. It's okay. I'm going to go into this slowly. If I come back here, trying to bring my chest over my hips. Okay, now it feels like everything's connected. I'm able to stabilize. Wow. Okay. Okay. These are taxing to me neurologically more than muscularly, but I like to keep all my workouts as short as I can, and I never like to max out anything neuromuscularly or otherwise. So I think I'll do one more on the right side, and then I'm gonna go have some dinner. All right, let's see if I can start a little more stacked over the hip. Once again, I'm starting down in the tops of my toes, trying to lift my knee, get myself stacked. Oh, because as I stack back here, I'm pushing my toes harder into a fist as I'm backing up, which is putting a lot more challenge into the... Sorry, I had to bail on that one. Wow. Okay. All right, let's take a little break there. Okay. You know, I have this weird tradition. Wherever I am weak, whatever side or function or body part is weak, that side is all. I'm going to end my whatever I'm doing, my session, by just giving that side a little bit more attention. This time we'll start from the top. Right now, everything, most of my consciousness in the top of my toes and the top on the part of my foot, the dorsal surface or top surface of my foot, at the base of my toes. And now I'm going to try to stack my chest over my hips. As I do this, more weight is shifting back into my left foot, curling my feet, my toes harder into a fist, and putting additional stress on the tibialis anterior and other structures on the top of my foot. All right, now, okay. Like I said, this video, I don't expect a lot of people to dig it, because this can be boring. But if you're still here, and like I said, you understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, in my opinion, you're a pro. Okay. See how this feels. Yeah. It's another thing. Normally, if I place my heels together, position my feet at a 90 degree angle, I don't know if that's a plie squat or not, but call it what you will. Normally, I stop right around here. And when I activate the tibias, the tibialis anterior muscles, the way I just did, the tibs have so much to do with how your tibias and your calves have more to do with your knee function, or at least I think so, than the quadriceps or the hamstrings. Because I didn't stretch at all. I didn't stretch before this, before I turned on the camera. But because my tibs are so not just activated, but they're integrated with the quads, my ability to enter the squat is much more than it would otherwise be. All right. Okay. Now from here, let's see how upright we can get. This is the true test of my squat. Is not when I'm hinged forward at the waist, but when I stack my chest as upright over my hips as I can. Okay. There was no weight added to my body, obviously, but that's like one of the heaviest leg workouts I've done in a while. But I'm feeling better now, so I can do that. So anyway, thank you for being here. Much aloha.